Singapore reports 3 new unlinked Covid-19 infections as residents of another HDB block are tested for the virus. Were any laws broken during this racist encounter? I'll be speaking to a lawyer to find out. And actor Gurmit Singh turns up in court today to face a charge for speeding. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story, now coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. 9 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today, the lowest since March 17th, when 9 were reported as well. Today's count included 3 cases in the community, with 1 linked to previous infections and 2 currently unlinked. There's also 1 unlinked case from a migrant workers' dormitory. Now, according to our checks by our colleague Ray Kurohi, from the time a case is first reported as unlinked, it's taken an average of 3.2 days to establish a link to at least 1 other case. Now, for cases linked to clusters, it has taken an average of 4.5 days to find the link. Well, Ray is here to tell us more. Welcome to the show, Ray. Why did you choose to focus on unlinked cases, and how did you go about doing it, having to crunch weeks of data?
Well, Haryanto, as you know, the unlinked cases every day, they are a cause for concern for the authorities, not just this year, but also last year in the lead up to the circuit breaker. So it's these unlinked cases that are cause for concern because they signal that there are these undetected cases in the community, because we know that they probably are linked, and it's a matter of how can we find those links. So when we looked at the current outbreak, which started around April 28th, now that was the day that the index case for the Tan Tock Seng cluster was first reported. This doesn't mean, of course, that the Tan Tock Seng cluster is linked to all of the cases in the community, but it was around that time when the case numbers started to tick upwards. So we really wanted to just get a good look at the case numbers, specifically the unlinked cases, and find out, even though they've been unlinked at the time of reporting, how long does it take to find the link?
So, Ray, why is it important to keep track of the time it takes for unlinked cases to become linked, whether to a previous case or a cluster? So for today, 3 unlinked cases. So based on the finding that you have discovered, that would take about an average 3 days to 4 days to get it linked?
Well, the unlinked cases over time have come down. As you mentioned, today there are 3 unlinked cases, and in the past week or so, the average is about 2 cases a day. There are days, of course, where there are 0 unlinked cases. So as we watched the case numbers tick up in the previous weeks, I think it was a cause for concern for many to see that there was a certain number of unlinked cases every day. And we thought it'd be a good idea to give our readers some peace of mind and let them know that, yes, we may have 100 plus unlinked cases at the time of reporting, but most of those cases have in fact been linked, and you don't have 100 cases walking around in public that we've not been able to link.
Well, thank you so much for the sharing, Ray. That was the Straits Times' journalist Ray Kurohi. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, a link to her story is in the description below.
Thanks, Haryanto.
A calm, efficient and orderly swabbing process this morning for residents of a Punggol HDB block. Some 360 of them are being called up for mandatory testing after 8 cases were detected there. Observing the exercise earlier, multimedia journalist Renee Po files this report.
Residents living in Block 325A Sumang Walk in Punggol turned up for mandatory swab tests on Tuesday morning after 8 COVID-19 cases were found in 3 different households in the block. I'm here at the multi-purpose pavilion beside the block where testing is being conducted. When I arrived at about 11 a.m, there was no queue and residents could move in quickly to do their tests as soon as they arrived. Now, this is not the first time this is being done, as residents of HDB blocks in Hougang and Yishun also had to undergo mandatory tests after cases were found there.
It was a surprise because I saw the cases in Hougang and the other places, and I'm like, oh, okay, these places were quite surprising. And then less I know that it kind of happened at my same block. So.
Similar to previous HDB block swabbing exercises, residents were notified to come down for the tests via SMS and a leaflet to their home. They were also allocated a time slot. Residents described the process as smooth and fuss-free, with many being in and out within 10 minutes after registration.
It was very fast actually, a blink of an eye. I actually had an experience before, so I kind of knew what the swab test was about, and yeah, went through the process pretty quickly. The testers were very professional and treated us with care. Yeah.
I actually expected a queue because like 11:30 is like lunchtime, so I thought like everybody would come during their lunch break, but it's actually quite fast. Everybody is on I think should be follow their own time slot quite well.
Seniors, pregnant women, and those with young children were allocated a spot in the priority queue. Most of the residents whom the Straits Times spoke to said they were concerned about the number of COVID-19 cases in their block, but felt it was necessary to be swabbed.
To be honest, yes. Because I heard that there's like 8 cases, right? So, and then it's right at our block. So it's like maybe the lift, lobby or what may have like, I don't know whether it's well disinfected or not, yeah.
Concern is one of the things, but I think it's good to test the whole block in order not to make the COVID-19 spread through the community. So I think this is a good step to test the whole block.
Visitors to Block 325A between May 10th and June 5th are also encouraged to come forward for testing, conducted on Tuesday and Wednesday. Those swabbed said they would try to stay home and avoid going out unnecessarily in the meantime.
Now we maybe go for groceries one time a week only, like to buy in bulk, and mainly food deliveries.
就戴口罩，上班下班洗手，这样啊，避免尽量不要按那些电梯那些咯，用那些钥匙来按咯。
Dr. Jano Putucherry, an MP for Pasir Ris Punggol GRC, said a total of 361 residents from 124 households would be tested. As residents here continue to take their own safety precautions, they remain generally positive about their block's mass testing as they await what they hope will be negative test results. Renee Po for the Straits Times.
As police investigate Saturday night's encounter between an interracial couple and a Chinese man, what are some of the legal issues that could arise? The man, a lecturer at Ngee Ann Polytechnic, has been suspended, with further disciplinary action being considered. It's been reported that the man is Tan Boon Lee, who teaches at the Poly's School of Engineering. A question that has arisen: could Mr. Tan be liable for the offence of hurting the racial feelings of another person? As for Dave Parkesh and Jacqueline Ho, the couple who shot and uploaded the video on Facebook, another question is if they may be liable for inciting racial tension by sharing the video. The 9-minute clip has garnered over 17,000 shares since Mr. Parkesh posted it on Sunday morning. Since the full facts of the incident are still not known, it's too early to conclude what charges Mr. Tan might face or even whether he might be charged at all. For instance, it's not known what could have happened before or after the video was filmed. Joining me now is lawyer Justin Chan, a senior partner at Tito Isaac & Co. Welcome to the show, Justin. From what we saw in the video, there was no physical altercation between the two men or even public disturbance. So in that regard, Justin, did any party break any laws? You know, we're talking about the man who made the racist remarks as well as the couple.
Let's deal with the man who made these remarks first. I think it's very possible that he's committed offences under the Sedition Act as well as the Penal Code. Now under the Penal Code, Section 298 and 298A, two types of actions are prohibited. The first is to do words or acts with the intent to wound the racial feelings of another, and secondly, to do words or acts which promotes discord between racial groups. Under the Sedition Act, for example, it criminalizes behavior which is defined as anything which promotes ill will and hostility between the races. So I think insofar as the man making the remarks is concerned, he may be open to certain charges under both these acts. In terms of the couple, I don't think there would be any repercussions on them, especially because the man has said that he was very clear that he had released the video on social media in order to promote awareness of the subject.
Right. On the video, the fact that it has gone viral in the public space, versus a private exchange between two people, can the man's actions then be deemed incendiary, thus harmful, and so considered an offence?
I think it's already considered an offence because the intent of both the Sedition Act and the Penal Code is to address words or actions, whether they be said or done to one person or very many. So it is already an offence. There isn't sort of an additional tariff for it being on social media as well.
Right. Justin, do our laws adequately address racist behavior, given that social media is playing a bigger role in making such incidents more public?
I think it does for now, but laws must change to reflect the changing realities of our country. For example, you've seen that when we talk about prevention, the Sedition Act and the Penal Code do criminalize certain activities. But you got to look at it through the prism of social media, where in the blink of an eye, those words or actions, can be broadcast to thousands. So while we can see that the words or acts themselves are criminalized, there is the deliberate use of social media in order to achieve a wider audience. That is not criminalized. So it may be in the future that there will be some changes which punish that deliberate use of a mass of social media to spread your message as wide as possible. In the words of our law minister, that may give us some insight. He has said that he believed that Singapore, and I'm quoting, he believed that Singapore was moving in the right direction on racial tolerance and harmony, but based on recent events, I'm not so sure anymore. So I think that is words straight from the horse's mouth, and something that we may want to take note of.
Well, thanks for speaking with me today, Justin. That was Justin Chan, a senior partner at law firm Tito Isaac & Co. A man who posted racially offensive tweets under the moniker Sharon Liu 86 has been sentenced to 3 weeks jail. Zainal Abidin Shaiful Bahari pleaded guilty to 2 charges involving acts against racial harmony. 2 other similar charges were considered during sentencing. For each count of committing acts against racial harmony, an offender can be jailed for up to 3 years and fined. Veteran actor Gurmit Singh has been banned from driving for 3 months and fined $800 after he was caught speeding with his son in the car. According to CNA, Singh told the court that he noticed a flapping sound and wanted his son to hear it. He also reportedly said he didn't know how he reached a speed of 131 km per hour and claimed that it was a quote one-off thing. Gojek has made over 62,000 trips to and from vaccination centres in the first week of its campaign, in which users can use vouchers to pay for their trips to these centres. Right data also revealed that most trips were on Wednesdays and Thursdays, with the highest volumes between noon and 3 p.m. on Thursdays. So Gojek is advising those looking to schedule their appointments to take peak times into consideration. Five days to the scheduled end of this heightened alert period, and one question comes to mind: will dining in be allowed again? Hawker stalls are particularly affected by the dining in ban, with people preparing own meals or turning to food delivery instead. But netizens were quick to come to the rescue, starting round-up efforts like promoting hawker stalls on social media. Now, for instance, this Facebook page, Hawkers United Tapao 2020, has over 297,000 members. Are these types of grassroots campaigns enough to help these hawkers? Or do bigger players like regulatory agencies need to play a larger role? The Straits Times' associate editor Chua Mui Hong has an opinion piece on this, and she's here now to share more. Welcome to the show, Mui Hong. Our hawkers have had a rough year and a half. Mui Hong, what was your motivation to tackle this continuing issue now?
Hi, thanks for having me on the show, Haryanto. Well, first, as a Singaporean, I love my hawker food, and especially during this work from home period, being able to have access to affordable meals is so important. Also, some personal background here. My late parents were hawkers, so, this is I mean, for me, it's slightly personal. When I see all these elderly hawkers, I think they could be my parents. Also, I'm a member of the National Heritage Board nominating committee that put up Singapore hawker culture as part of the inscription into the UNESCO Register of Intangible Cultural Heritage. And also this year, as we entered the basically the heightened alert phase, you can see many hawkers are struggling. And I was very touched when I saw so many social media posts put up by people, including some who are being put up by the children or the nieces and nephews of hawkers. And it got me thinking, I mean, there's so much ground up efforts, but like, where are the regulatory agencies, where are the big boys? Can this be something that the big players can do more about? Because I think there's a lack of coordination.
Mui Hong, in your piece, that is exactly what you asked for. You're calling for bigger players like agencies to step in. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yes, fundamentally, I see this as a problem of a mismatch of supply and demand. On the supply side, we have so many hawker stores and they are crying out for business. And on the demand side, of course, many of us actually love our hawker food. And not only are they delicious, they are affordably priced, and they are so often, the comfort food that we're used to from young. So, it should really be so easy, right, to see hawker meals fly off the shelf, but it's not now because many of us are locked up at homes. We're not quite sure, where the good stores are, what stores are the ones that are most in need of our help, and so on.
Sid, Mui Hong, what are the solutions that you're proposing to tackle the problem of this matching supply with demand?
Okay, the way I see it, if we look at the supply chain for hawker food to get into our homes, we can divide it into three components. The first component is what I call e-ordering, or having access to the menus on a digital app and so on. And even the idea of just getting hawker food menus online is actually quite many hurdles that have to be crossed. For example, you take a typical economy rice store, they would serve 20 to 30 dishes. Now, you may not want all 30 dishes, on the menu. What you may need to do is package them into, 5 or 6 set options, each typically, with a meat dish, a vegetable dish, and maybe an egg or tofu dish, and then with a rice option. And then, you streamline the menu, you make it easy for people to choose. Now, even getting that kind of, streamlined menu onto the app, I think will require our hawkers to think of doing things differently. You'll require a lot of hand-holding from the digital ambassadors who are on the ground to try to help them. So that's just one part, the e-ordering. That's the e-browsing. I call it the e-browsing. Then there is the e-ordering, which will require the hawkers to have point of sale systems that are linked to the ordering process so that they can generate order slips, and then they know what's required and they know what the pickup times are. And then the final component would be the e-payment. On e-payments, we are doing quite well. We're doing not too badly, because thanks to the government's Hawkers Go Digital program, which rolled out last year, about more than half our hawkers already offer e-payment option. So that's a fantastic base to work on. And to support that e-payment process, the government actually recruited about 1,000 digital ambassadors who are actively working with hawkers to get them on board. So, and as our MCI Minister Josephine Teo has announced, the government wants to help hawkers move beyond the e-payment to the e-ordering. And she has also said that Tan Kiat Hao and Dr. Amy Kaur will also be involved in this effort. So I do see that the government is committed to helping hawkers. And I hope that they will be able to work with the hawkers associations and with the various ground up initiatives and volunteers, so that together they can make a difference to hawkers. And I would just say that meanwhile, there's something that we all can do individually as well, which is just go and support our hawker stores, go and tap out food. And as KFC2 has long been an advocate of our hawker food. He's been suggesting that we all basically just organize group buys, or when we go and tap out food, just buy a little extra for our family members, for friends, or for the needy. And I think just a simple act, if we all could do that, would make a real difference to hawkers' ability to survive.
Well, great points there, Mui Hong. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I've been speaking with Chua Mui Hong, Associate Editor at the Straits Times. Now, for more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. See you tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.